What's going on, fellas? Today we are at Old School Gyms. I'm going to be taking you through my upper session, which has helped me blow my upper body up. Chest, shoulders, delts. Shoulders and delts are the same fucking muscle group. I'm going to take you through the primers to begin with. We've got some breathing drills, we've got some rotational drills, we've also got some ab work as well. All which works together to basically create space for the shoulders to be able to move properly, and then we'll get into the main part of the session. Right, first exercise is, like I said, a hanging leg raise. Now, there's two things which I tend to change with a normal hanging leg raise. Most people will just go to the pull-up bar and they'll just start swinging the fucking legs. And mostly you're just getting hip flexor out of that, right? So with this, the first thing I've done, I've got this bar behind me. So this will help to create stability. So it allows me to actually push into the bar. So I'm not just hanging and I'm swinging back and forth. I can actually stabilize myself. The second thing I've got is this yoga block here. Now, what I'm going to do is basically squeeze this between my knees. What that will help to do then is stabilize my pelvis. Like I said, most people tend to just feel hip flexors with this. So by squeezing this block between our knees like this, as we go through the range of motion, then I'm going to get a lot more abs and I can actually think about curling my spine up, right? All your abs do is flex the spine. That's literally it. So we're focusing on doing that, and these two things here will help us to get a little bit more out of the movement. So this just gets the rib cage moving, gets the spine moving, and I'll show you a couple of different variations you can also do as well to add a little bit of rotation in there too.
Let's keep zoning, let's keep floating, let's keep moaning. Girl, I know that it ain't over. In the morning, you'll be running back to me.
A variation that you can do on this as well to get a little bit more rotation involved. You can put a bench, or you can grab like a stool, something like that. You can put something here, or you could just imagine there's something there, right? Which I'm going to do just for the demonstration. And then you can basically, we're going through a little bit of rotation as well, just to get the spine and the rib cage moving. So that'll just help again to open up that rib cage. The rib cage, when it comes to the shoulders, is fucking key. Like in this video, you're gonna hear me say rib cage about 47 times, mate. But if you learn how to control and manage that rib cage, that's what's gonna allow you to get rid of the shoulder pain and build more muscle as well. Right, so we'll superset that with the oblique breathing. Basically gonna get into this sat down position. You've got this leg in front, you've got this leg slightly behind, and then we're basically gonna rotate away from that side. What you wanna think about is full hand pressure. So what we're trying to do is drive air into the opposite side. So as you can see, I'm sort of crunched down on this side. And so the air we want to direct to the back of this side of it and expand this part of the rib cage. So all I'm going to do is blow out all my air through my mouth. As I get to the end point there where I've blown all my air out, I feel my obliques on this side contract as they're drawing the rib cage down. And I'm going to pause for a second. And I can literally feel my scapula, my shoulder blade pull tight to my rib cage, which is what we want because the rib cage is expanding. And then you're literally just going to repeat. As you go through it, you should feel like you're able to expand and compress that rib cage more and more with each rep. 10 on each side, and then you literally just swap over. If you struggle to get into this position here, you can even do it like a little bit more lay down like that, but whatever suits you, whatever position you're able to get into. I tend to notice that my left side is a little bit more compressed, a little bit more stiff. So what I tend to do is spend a little bit more time on this side to drive more air so I can actually get that expansion that we're after. Onto the actual main bulk of the session now. First exercise, we've got a machine lateral raise. So for me, bringing up my delts to match my chest, which tends to overpower my physique, has been a priority in this gaining phase. So with most of my sessions, or my upper body sessions, I've been starting with some sort of, whether it's a rear delt or machine lateral raise, to hit the side delts and obviously the rear delts. So machine lateral raise here. One thing you'll notice that I do before I even unrack the weight is inhale. So breathing, particularly like during your main exercises, are really important. So when we inhale, what we are driving, right, is expansion. Expansion will then allow us to create more space for the joints to actually move properly, which if you've not got the space, that's why you run into grinding, clicking of your shoulder. So when we inhale, we've created the space. And then when we actually contract, then we exhale, we're driving more compression, which is where we can actually produce force. So inhale during the eccentric, exhale through your mouth during the concentric.
Keep zoning, let's keep floating, let's keep moaning. Girl, I know that it ain't over in the morning.
One thing I'm thinking about, which most people I see do the opposite, is I'm not just lifting up. A lot of people make the mistake on a lateral raise of just shrugging the shoulders. I'm thinking about reaching away from me. So I'm actually driving away. I'm not driving up. So the difference is most people will literally just shrug. Whereas if we think about actually, I'm driving my elbows away from me. When you get to about 90 degrees there, like I can feel my side delts contract like fuck. So I'm inhaling, exhale, feel the contraction, and then use that contraction to control the weight on the way down. Most people don't really feel a muscle working and think that that's like normal. You should feel whatever muscle you're trying to work, fucking work. Like mind muscle connection is more important than you think, because that's an indicator, right, that we've got tension where we're trying to direct it. So if you finish a lateral raise set and all you can feel is your traps burning and not your shoulders, your side delts, you're probably shrugging more than you think you should. So drive the arms away and not just up like this. We are now moving on to a overhead press. Again, we're trying to hit the front delts mainly. Obviously, you're gonna get some upper chest involvement as well. The most important thing with this is keeping that rib cage stacked over the pelvis. So most people cannot get into a fully overhead position like this without having to arch. Most people haven't got that movement available to them because their shoulder has not got the space to be able to move. They're compressed at the back of the rib cage because all they do is flare the rib cage and arch as much as possible. So they've got no space to actually move. So we've got this block here to basically elevate the feet. What this will do is put us into a little bit more hip flexion, which then makes it easier to keep the rib cage stacked over the pelvis. So if you imagine a can of Coke, if we were to split that can of Coke down the middle and crack it open as if you were to like chug a drink or whatever, that's what we want to avoid. That's what most people do. So most people, without this, would have the feet behind them, like a power lifter. They would arch like this, and this is how they would perform it. Like this is how you probably see most people perform either an overhead press or an incline press. All we're doing there is just compressing everything at the back of the rib cage. The shoulder blades haven't got the space to actually move. Sure, it feels okay because we're basically creating like an artificial stretch by just jamming everything back. But over time, your shoulders are just gonna get tighter, stiffer, and you're not gonna be able to get into that overhead position whilst keeping the rib cage stacked and reaching fully overhead. So with this in front of us, it makes it a lot easier then to actually keep that rib cage stacked over the pelvis. We're not flaring, we're not arching. The back is flat to the pad, and then we inhale, feel that tension, and then so one thing I'm thinking about as well is just drawing down on those ribs at the bottom. So I'm thinking about actually keeping my abs and my obliques switched on just a touch, and that just helps to keep that rib cage down and stop it from flaring. Particularly as I get closer to failure, I'll think about drawing down on that rib cage a little bit more to make sure that I'm not arching, I'm not flaring.
Beautiful big titty, but naked women just don't fall like the sky, you know. Easy, how you doing, huh? Easy, how you doing, huh? Easy, how you doing, huh? Beautiful big titty, but naked women just don't fall like the sky. Just don't fall like the sky.
Right, next exercise, we've got the first back exercise. This is called a chest supported T-bar for a reason. What I see most people doing when they're doing this is first mistake they'll make is rather than having the feet on the floor so that the feet are actually slightly in front of them so that they can then keep the rib cage stacked over the pelvis, what most people do is they'll use this platform behind them, put the feet on there, you'll straight away just want to arch your back, and as you're pulling, pull your chest away, which is what a lot of people do. They'll come into flexion and let the spine just round over, and then as they're rowing, the chest will come away from the pad. All you're doing, compressing that rib cage more and more and more as you're coming into this position, and as you're going like this, you're just compressing everything. What we want to do is, rather than having the feet on the platform, have them slightly in front of you. Straight away, that puts you into a little bit more of a neutral spine position, rather than having this big arch. So it's then easier to maintain that neutral spine position. And then rather than thinking about just moving the weight from A to B and going like this, we're actually thinking about pulling ourselves into the pad. So I'm literally rowing my chest into the pad, getting those elbows as far back behind me as I possibly can. Reaching, reaching, reaching. That's the furthest I can get. If I come any further, I've got to round the back. We don't want that. Keep the back, the spine neutral. Inhale, fill that rib cage with air, feel the tension across your upper back, and then exhale as we're pulling ourselves into the pad. Last week, I got 45 for 6 on this. This Watson T-bar is heavy as fuck, mate. Don't judge me, I'm not a little weakling. I could move way more weight on this, right? I could just throw it from A to B, but you've got to remember what the goal is. The goal isn't just to move as much weight from A to B as possible. I aim to powerlift it. At the end of the day, this weight is a tool that I'm trying to use to direct tension where we want it, on the upper back, right? So actually, it makes more sense to be able to use less weight and get more out of that weight, because one, you're creating less fatigue, but two, you're also creating less friction, less tension on the joints, the tendons, the ligaments, right? We want the tension on the upper back. So last week I got 45 for 6. This week, if I get 45 for 6 again, that's fine. I'm not gonna just let my form go out the window just so I can creep out an extra 1 rep or an extra 2 reps or add a little bit more weight. Some people they become a little bit too obsessed with progressive overload, in my opinion, and they forget what the actual goal is. So if I get 6 again, it's not the end of the fucking world. I've still trained to failure. I've still created a stimulus. And at the end of the day, the amount of extra muscle that you need to build to be able to do a whole nother extra rep with the same form, it's gonna probably take a couple of weeks to build that muscle, especially when you've been training for 10 years like I have. Like, it's gonna take time. So don't just become like, yes, we wanna get stronger. Yes, we want to progressively overload, but over a longer time span. Think about at the start of this bulk, what was I moving compared to now?
Women just don't fall like the sky, you know. Tell me how you know. I've been searching high and low, and I can tell you one thing: beautiful big titty but naked women just don't fall like the sky, you know. Tell me how you know. I've been searching high and low, and I can tell you one thing: beautiful big titty but naked women just don't fall out of the sky, you know.
Says all that and then gets 7. We'll take that.
It's so valuable. I've been searching high and low, and I can tell you one thing: beautiful big titty but naked women just don't fall out the sky, you know.
The low incline dumbbell press, the principles which I spoke about on the overhead press, we also use on this press, right? So we don't want to be arching loads and going like this, right? Because not only are you turning it from an incline press to a flat press by arching loads, but you're also, again, compressing everything at the back of the rib cage. You can't actually move. So something that I've actually been experimenting with recently on all of my chest pressing is actually using a little bit less range of motion, right? Because in the past, I'd think, right, the deeper the better. So what I'd do is I'd come down and I'd get to the point where, so this is where I would stop now, right? I can already feel like that's where I can feel the most tension on my chest. If I was to come any lower, for me to get lower, I'd have to actually do that and flare the rib cage more. And what you're doing then is you're actually losing tension on the chest. So since experimenting with this, I've actually kept more tension on my chest, and I'm actually stronger as well as a result, because I'm in a stronger position. And then as I'm pressing back up, I'm pressing the weight away from me and myself back into the bench. Whereas before, I'd literally just think about trying to drive the dumbbells up as fast as possible. Whereas now I'm actually thinking about pressing away and I'm actually protracting, like trying to roll my shoulders forward and wrap my scapula around my rib cage as I press away. And I keep more tension on my pec, and I'm actually able to get more of a contraction, and it's just basically better for your chest, mate. Like this way of pressing. Shout out to Jonathan Warren. I've been watching a lot of his content recently, and this is where I've got this stuff from, is trialing it, using it within myself, using it with clients, and finding shit that this stuff actually works. I've been doing the same thing on my hack squat. My hack squat before, I'd try and get as low as possible, and I'd just let my pelvis tuck under myself. I'd let my spine go into flexion at the bottom, whereas now, keeping everything stacked, a little bit less range of motion, but keeping more tension where we actually want it. Time under tension's a myth, by the way. That's not what we're after. We're not after time under tension. We're just after as much tension as we possibly can. The time doesn't fucking matter. You can sit here for an hour, mate, with your chest under tension. You won't do shit. So I'm starting with the 30 kilos for my top set. I've pressed the 40s in the past. I've pressed the 45s in the past. The execution's been terrible, and I had no fucking chest. Now I'm pressing the 30s, a lot more tension, better execution, and also better for my shoulders as well, a lot safer. So you'll see what I mean in a second.
Let's keep zoning, let's keep floating, let's keep moaning. Girl, I know that it ain't over. In the morning, you'll be running back to me. Heart was broken, I am frozen, now you're glowing. This is more than just a moment. In the morning, you'll be running back.
Okay, so we have ruined the upper back on the T-bar next to us. We're now going to do a lat biased row. So this Gymshark machine, I actually really like. They've got the Nautilus over there, but I do find with the Nautilus, it's very, very hard in the contraction, whereas with this one, especially with this movement being a little bit later in the session, I find that having a machine that drops off a little bit more in that contraction just works a little bit better. I'm able to get a little bit more out of my lat from this. So you'll notice with this one, what a lot of people will do is lean to the side, right? I made a video about this the other day for Instagram. Is on any single arm lat biased movements, a lot of people lean to tilt to the side because they're told your lat assists with lateral flexion, which yes, it does, but we want to be able to apply proper lengthened tension to the lat. And if you're tilting to the side, not only are we completely just disrupting the way that the shoulder is meant to move, right? But we're also just pre-shortening the muscle. So you're not able to, how do you lengthen a muscle that is, when you're stuck down to the side like this, you can't. So what we're focusing on is driving pressure through the whole foot on the side that's working. So if my right arm is working, I'm driving through this leg to keep my pelvis stable, nice and tall. Again, I'm not in extension, I'm not in flexion, neutral spine. The obliques here are really important to help keep the trunk, keep the rib cage fixed in place. So that's why also the breathing work and the rotational work will also help, is to strengthen the obliques to be able to keep the rib cage fixed in place, whilst the lat and the shoulder is what's doing the work, right? We're not going like this, we're not twisting, we're not rotating. Nice and tall, fluid shoulder mechanics, so we're letting the shoulder protract, we're reaching, lengthening the lat, and then we're driving that elbow down hard into the pocket. And when your arm is about in line with your torso, that's your lat fully contracted pretty much. Like, we don't need to be coming back here. We don't need to be flaring up here. When your arm is in line with your torso, that's your lat pretty much fully contracted.
This that shit that make rap niggas mad. Fucking two twins, I told her Skinny was in, so she took out all the ass. Dipping at your valve, but that thing still moving, I had to knock it down. DZ, where we at? Promise a Milan, just turn the bird bitch to my ex like I was Elon. Cow hunters on the blue side, booty must have grew aside. Seen it from the front side, damn it must be two sides.
I've also been trialing not using these recently. So I'm only using my straps if I absolutely need them. So the only exercise I really need to use these on now is this lat bias row. Pretty heavy, 5 plates a side. The T-bar, I don't actually need them. The pull down, I don't actually need them. I only need them for these, for this and RDLs. And I found not only my forearms look a little bit bigger, like I've got pretty fucking pretty long arms, mate. So like trying to fill these bad boys out is pretty impossible. So I've noticed my forearms look a little bit better. And also my grip strength overall has just improved. So I found that when I'm pressing as well, I'm able to find hand pressure and keep hand pressure because my hand, my wrist, my forearms are able to actually apply force and spread that force a little bit more evenly because they're actually stronger. And the same concept applies to your feet. People who have knee problems, right, very often have weak ankles, weak feet, weak calves, and also hips that can't move. So what takes the brunt of the force, right? It's the knees. And it's the same in this position, right? If you have elbow issues, you've very often got a shoulder that can't move or hands and wrists that can't actually change shape and manage force, basically. So strengthen the hands, strengthen the forearms, strengthen the shoulders, and your elbow issues will probably go away.
She crying tears in that Maybach and not the Toyota.
Prime example of what I was talking about earlier is literally Aaron, cameraman, has just literally said to me, like when I do a lateral raise, I get like crunching and like this, I get tightness in my upper trap. So reason is, right, and I could see it when he did it straight away, is he's uneven, right? Now, rather than sticking a plaster over the problem by doing external rotations and scapular stabilizing exercises, what you actually need to do is fix the core root problem, which is that his rib cage is uneven, right? His rib cage on that side is probably more compressed than the other side. That way then, if you've got one side of the rib cage that's compressed like this, right, but this side's a little bit more expanded, or you're twisted to the side or anything like that, right, your scapula's then not going to glide, move properly the way it's supposed to. So think about a train on a train track. So if you've got the train track, right, and you've got the train, if those two wheels each side align perfectly, you've got a train that glides nicely along it. Now, if one of those sides of the track is uneven for whatever reason, all of a sudden then the wheels are going to start crunching. They're not going to fucking move properly along the train track, which is what's happening here, right? Which is why we do the rotational work. It's why we do the breathing work to then fix the core root issue, which is the rib cage, right? Get the rib cage malleable. Get it to be able to change shape as you actually move. That way then you've got the space around your shoulder joints and your GH joint to actually be able to move without like your joints just fucking grinding and clicking and popping. So Aaron is also my client, and so I'm gonna get him to do some breathing work and some rotational work to help fix that shoulder. And I can bet you a lot of money that it'll work.
Me get at home with memorial. Suck my dick for the interview, a editorial. Put you on the track, how you working like I appointed you. Oh, how you gonna go back in your blessing when I anointed you? Beautiful big titty, but naked bitches, where you at? Started off stripping till I paid tuition, no congrats. Whining and dining, now to take my ratchet, hold the sax. She was too used to hamburger help with chili mac. And that's facts, you can fact check it. I'm from the crack era. Red bone bitches, they came in like I'm a black checker. Standing at the plate, your whole catch a boss like a back catcher. I bring my pistol when I fuck her, cause it's all my survival, ho. I got you clean, I'll pick you fuck with the rivals.
Oh. And literally the exact same principles as the overhead press, as the incline dumbbell press, also apply, surprise, surprise, to the pec deck. Rib cage stacked, elevating the feet slightly to encourage that. And then as we're going through the eccentric, keep the mouth closed, tongue to the roof of the mouth, inhale during the eccentric, expand from within, keep the tension on your pecs, and then as we're actually contracting, that's when we blow the air out so that we can then create force, create that compression that's going to allow us to feel that strong pec contraction. And trust me, expand, feel the tension, contract, compress, blow your air out. Literally just think about those cues whenever you're doing any sort of chest work, any pressing work, and it will make a massive fucking difference. And then the final exercise of the session, we're finishing off on reverse pec deck. So with the pec deck, similar to the chest supported T-bar row, we want the feet in front of us. So again, a lot of people will put the feet behind them, arch the fucking back, and then wonder why they can barely move the shoulder. So we do the opposite, feet underneath us, encourages that tuck a little bit. And then I'm actually thinking about digging my heels into the ground to keep the hamstrings switched on. And then all I'm doing is I'm leaning into the pad. So I go with like a slightly externally rotated grip. So I don't actually grip the handles. I go slightly above, and rather than being in like a neutral position like this, I turn my wrists out slightly just so I'm externally rotating a little bit more. Reason being, on this right shoulder, so the original injury that I did, what we think I did, was either sprained, torn, or fucked up my infraspinatus, so one of my rotator cuff muscles. So with the externally rotated position, it's just basically helping to strengthen that, which you can see when I hit a back double bicep, that this right side's a little bit more underdeveloped. So with the reverse pec deck, we're basically trying to strengthen that, grow that a little bit more, just to balance out the two sides. That's the reason. You don't have to do it. You can go with a neutral grip and actually grip the handles if you want to, but this is the reason why I do that. Session is complete, fellas. The only muscle group we didn't really train directly was actually triceps. Everything else got covered. Triceps I actually do at the end of my leg day, which I'm doing tomorrow. I've got crossbody cable extension and decline dumbbell skull crusher, but I won't show you those today. I'll show you them in another video. I thought I'd give you a quick physique update. I'm currently peak bulk, pretty much 87 kilos. I've got about 6 weeks left of this current gaining phase before I'm starting my shoot prep, which is going to be with the lads on the first week of June. So this is how 87 kilos is looking. This is actually the least, let me show you actually, probably the least fat I think I've ever got, peak bulk. Like I probably don't want to be going much higher than I am at the moment. You can still see my abs, my back. But for me, this is fairly lean. Like I say, still got abs, still got decent vascularity, and I still feel good. That's the main thing. Like previous gaining phases, I've just pushed way too hard, way too far. I've pushed all the way up to 95 before, and I just don't need to really. So yeah, that's how I'm looking at the moment. And the other thing is as well, with all the breathing stuff, with all the rotation stuff, I can actually move when I'm posing. So like when I'm going into like a side chest, I can actually keep my torso facing this way, and I can actually like rotate into it like that. Whereas before, I'd like struggle. And the same with like a lat spread. I trained with a client the other day who I said to him, right, let's go through some poses. He's going to be competing this year. Tried to hit a lat spread, and it's like his scapula, his shoulder blades were just stuck. He couldn't actually protract and go into internal rotation to show how much actual width he's got on his back. So I said to him, right,